So this got sent to me yesterday and I've only read the header of this article. I haven't read the whole thing. Literally, I haven't had time. This is an impromptu video. I wasn't planning on recording today. I've taken a little break from YouTube, but I had to cover this article. So this is going to be completely unedited, unscripted. I haven't read this at all. And I'm sorry if you can hear my family in the background. I'm just recording this now while I've got a chance. So this says, Cyberpunk 2077 is the game of the year in the same way that Hitler was Time's Man of the Year. Do you understand how absurd that is? Like, do you understand the gravity of this Garrett Martin, what he has posted? And video game journalism is beyond repair at this point. It's already pretty bad with Kotaku. This guy has taken it to a whole new level. This guy compared Cyberpunk 2077 to Hitler. I haven't read the article. We're gonna go over it screenshot by screenshot. I'm expecting a whole bunch of nonsense. There's no way. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you can get worse than that. But if he can get worse than that, hats off to him. So let's take a look at it. It's been a hell of a month for CD Projekt Red. The Polish game studio behind The Witcher released its latest smash hit Cyberpunk 2077 on December 10th, riding a wave of positive advanced reviews that gave it an initial Metacritic score of 91 out of 100 after 8 years of development, 3 delays and countless hours of work from overextended staff that had crunched for months on end. The biggest game of 2020 was finally out, and the designers who made it could rest on their laurels. At least that's what the makers of Cyberpunk 2077 might have assumed on December 8th, the day after those early reviews hit. But before the game itself was released, because absolutely nothing else has gone CD Projekt Red's way. That much is true. The game has been somewhat of a meme. It has been memeable, let's face it. It's a glitch fest. Even on good settings on a PC, there's a lot of people reporting issues. There are some people that say they go through playing it having no issues at all. And to those people, I say you're very lucky, because I've watched a couple people playing with very good PC settings, as good as it can get, and they're still experiencing game-breaking issues. But on the PC, it's a bit more few and far between. On consoles, it is absolutely disastrous. The truth is that Cyberpunk 2077 has seen the most disastrous launch for a game of its size since, well, perhaps in the history of games business. I don't know about that. I don't think that's true. Well, maybe because of the scope of this game. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll give him that one. That Metascore is now 86 for the PC version, with the console editions hovering in the 50s. An unthinkably low score for a game of this stature. I agree. This game is a complete debacle from almost every angle, and impressively sums up everything that needs to be changed about video games, from how they're made to how they're marketed to who they're made for. Cyberpunk 2077 is truly the game of the year because it represents all the problems holding this industry back, and because the size and scope of its failure is so massive. Cyberpunk 2077 is the game of the year in the same way Hitler was Time's Man of the Year in 1938, not as an award or accolade, but as a warning and admonishment of the world to the rest of the world. And no, we are not in no way comparing a bad game to history's greatest monster, but if you're looking for an example of when an award isn't really an award, Time kind of set the standard back in 1938. Well, I mean, that is just a bad example. Like, I mean, the analogy or the comparison or whatever you want to call it, that is just all kinds of stupid. All kinds. Like, that is next level stupid. Ugh, man, you should never use Hitler as a benchmark or something to compare people to. They do that with Donald Trump all the time. It kind of waters down what kind of monster Hitler was. This person seems to be aware that Hitler was a monster, but still, like, I mean, the headline was smart because it's clickbait, so people are gonna click on it. I mean, I have, but it's also just stupid. Like, it's such a reach. It's such a reach. Here's how Cyberpunk 2077 single-handedly represents everything wrong with games today. Well, this should be interesting. CD Projekt Red staff endured an extensive period of extreme crunch to ship the game, sacrificing work-life balance to push out a product that was effectively unfinished. Okay, I used to have an issue with crunch until I really sat there and thought about it, and I was like, hey, hold on a minute. This is not something that is exclusive to the gaming industry. Every single place I have ever worked in my life, I have had to do overtime, I've had to come in early, I've had to do things that are not even part of my job. I've worked stressfully long hours. I'm talking 14 to 18 hour shifts, and then having to go home and sleep and coming back and doing it again. That is just work in general. Is it a good thing? No, obviously not. It's not exclusive to the gaming industry though. This whole thing with crunch in gaming, that is what the average person has to deal with anyway, so no, that is not a point unless it's a point for everything. Riddled with glitches and bugs on higher end PCs and next gen consoles, it's downright unplayable on older consoles, especially the base model PS4 and Xbox One released at the start of the last generation in 2013. That is a big problem. Admittedly, that is a massive problem. I mean, there's no two ways about that. They need to fix the glitches and bugs. I'm confident they will. I haven't turned it on since the first day I played it because I encountered 4 bugs in 3 hours that actually ended up irritating me. One of them caused the tutorial to crash, so I was like, do you know what? I'll just wait. I don't want a refund. I actually want to play the game. I'll wait for them. There was no indication before the release date that the game would be significantly impaired on those older systems, with CD Projekt Red's CEO talking as recently as late November about how surprisingly impressive those versions of the game were. Okay, I'll have to give them that point. That is a fair point. I mean, they outright lied. They lied about Cyberpunk being good on a PS4 and an Xbox One. It is what it is. That's CD Projekt. I love you, but you lied. Like, you should not have put this game on previous gen consoles. And make no mistake, they were developing this game on previous gen consoles up until more recently. This game started development in the PS4 era, so, you know, I don't know why they lied. I don't know why they did that. It's neither here nor there now, I guess. All marketing material came from high performance machines, which is normal in the business, but CDPR tried to exert additional control over what footage made it out of the public before release by exclusively distributing PC code to reviewers and mandating an NDA that prevented reviewers from sharing their own video footage of the game until after release. That much is true. Again, it sucks to say. I really thought I was going to be ripping into this article a bit more. Maybe I will as it goes on, but as it stands, the person that wrote this article is right about these points so far, apart from point 1. With its lengthy hype cycle and years of carefully managed press touting, its groundbreaking and innovative nature, Cyberpunk 2077 sold 8 million copies before release, meaning it was already a smash hit before it was ever released. I mean, with the fact that they lied, yes, that's a problem, but it's selling, well, I guess they lied and said that it was innovative. It's only groundbreaking if you happen to have a very powerful PC and you happen to never come across any of the ridiculous bugs, because there's some really bad ones in it. It was clear years ago that it would have a low-brow sense of humor that routinely punched down with rampant misogyny and transphobia and the kind of vulgar and juvenile jokes that only seem mature to those weird middle school kids who like to carve naked women onto their school desks. I don't know what the hell this person's talking about there. I don't know what the hell they are on about, but point 6 is a load of garbage. It's just a load of garbage. This game is not misogynistic or transphobic. That narrative is hot garbage. It just is. Despite spending years in development and despite accessibility becoming a major focus for other publishers and hardware manufacturers, the developers were so careless that they included a gameplay feature that recreates a technique used by doctors to trigger seizures in those who suffer from photosensitivity, which yes, then cause seizures in photosensitive players of the game. Now, I don't have an issue with them putting that in the game, but what my issue was is that they didn't really warn anyone, and for someone that is photosensitive, that is a bit of a mix-up, not the kind of mix-up you want to be caught in. Okay, fair enough, they should have warned people. I don't think there's an issue with putting it in the game, personally, but there should have been a warning at least. When one games journalist who personally suffered a seizure wrote about the irresponsibility of including something like that in a video game a few days before the game was released, she was viciously attacked by fans of the game who had never even played it yet, in a flashback to the kind of hostility and sexism seen during the heights of Gamergate. This is just a load of low-hanging nonsense. That whole Gamergate bullshit is just, they're just beating a dead horse at this point. They are beating the horse couldn't be more dead. Like, that whole harassment BS that they're going on about, it's just nonsense. Like, yeah, there are going to be people on the internet that do say things that they say shitty things in the comment section all the time on YouTube and Instagram or Facebook. It's so what? Get on with your life. It's not harassment against women. It's not harassment against black people. It's none of that. It's just people on the internet like to write stupid shit. That's all it is. That is it. There are going to be the outliers that are malicious and actually want to do harm, verbally or physically, but for the most part it's just people talking nonsense on Twitter. Like, just get over it. The unbridled gamer hatred was then turned on CDPR itself after the extent of the game's broken nature became evident after release. Well, you've now sold a game to people. Like, these games are not cheap. Cyberpunk is what, $59.99? $69.99? Yeah, of course people are going to be pissed off. That's a perfectly normal reaction to have to this game coming out in the way that it was released. So people going on Twitter going, what the hell is going on? That's perfectly normal. That, I mean, wouldn't you? Especially in the economic crisis that we're in because of the lockdowns and everything going on. Of course you're going to be annoyed. A few days after release, as the scope of the disaster was becoming clear, CDPR announced that players unhappy with the game could request a refund, but apparently did not confirm that its retail partners would honor those refunds requests before making that announcement. Yeah, they shouldn't have done that. That was dumb. That was dumb. Sony and Microsoft eventually announced they would process refunds for anybody who bought the game through their digital stores, with Sony going to the extreme step of completely removing Cyberpunk 2077 from the PlayStation Store. I applaud Sony for that. That was the right move, in my opinion. The game is not playable on PS4. Meanwhile, CD Projekt Red's stock price has lost a third of its value since the day those reviews went live. That's only natural, I guess. I don't know if that's one of the 12 problems, but fair enough. Finally, despite this all, CD Projekt Red revealed today that Cyberpunk 2077 has now sold 13 million copies in less than 2 weeks. Well, that's people's prerogative. If people want to buy the game, knowing that it's glitchy, I myself know it's glitchy, I'm not getting a refund for it, I'm going to wait. That's a player's prerogative, that's not a problem. People know that the game is glitchy now, they have the opportunity to get a refund, they don't want it. So how is that an issue? So yeah, this story has it all. A broken game that caters to the lowest common denominator and is suffused with toxic masculinity. Oh Jesus Christ, really? Really? Whose development was so severely mismanaged that it took years of inhumane working conditions to put out an unfinished game by a release date that had already been delayed 3 times, and whose most toxic fans were provoked to first attack journalists who pointed out legitimate problems with it, and eventually, after the magnitude of its brokenness was evident, the designers who made it. This is the ultimate example of what the video game business has become. A noxious cesspool built on anger and exploitation by a management class that doesn't respect its employees, the press, or its customers, and that has spent decades pandering to the most hostile instincts of its fans. Now, do you know what's funny about this? Naughty Dog won Vision of the Year or I can't remember what they get. It was something about the studio. But as far as I'm aware, Naughty Dog had a serious crunch problem. So what this looks like to me is that once again, because these video game journalists seem to think that this is a transphobic, misogynistic, sexist game, the crunch only applies to them. Pointing it out only applies to them. People working overtime at CD Projekt only applies to them. Like it doesn't apply to Naughty Dog. It doesn't apply to Naughty Dog when they administer a crunch, basically. Like everyone's going through the crunch. Don't want to talk about it. You literally give them an award after everything that came out. Even Kotaku, those woke morons, even they reported on it. But it's okay now. It's fine. It's fine when they do it, but when CD Projekt Red does it, it's a bunch of low hanging nonsense. Make no mistake about that. Cyberpunk 2077 is such a comprehensive failure that you'd think it would incite great change within this industry, that would make companies look at the current systems in place, the crunch, the cycles of hiring and firing that make game design such an unstable field, the deceitful and manipulative ways in which games are promoted, the us versus them mentality inherent in the gamer lifestyle that was cynically created for marketing purposes, and realize the whole structure needs to be torn down and rebuilt from the foundations. Unfortunately, despite the refund, the delisting from the PlayStation Store and the massively negative word of mouth, the only way Cyberpunk 2077 has failed is one that matters most. It's still 13 million copies sold even after the refund offers. Pre-orders guaranteed it would turn a profit before it was even released. Yes, the drop in stock price has reduced the company's value by over $1 billion, but stock prices routinely fluctuate, and CD Projekt Red's price has been several points lower than it is now earlier this year. And yes, it remains to be seen how many of those 30 million copies will be refunded. But whatever lessons need to be learned by this are already being buried by all the units CD Projekt Red has shifted. If CDPR doesn't suffer a significant financial hit from this whole mess, the games world will just continue on as before, with so-called AAA part of the industry routinely failing its employees and consumers in ways that aren't nearly as spectacular as what we've seen with Cyberpunk. It's the game of the year, perhaps the century, because it sums up not just everything wrong with this entire business, but proves that despite it all, these deplorable methods can still sell millions and millions of games. Well, like I said, it is the player's prerogative. It is up to the player. You cannot cite that as a problem. If people are knowingly buying the game, like knowing that there's glitches, that is their prerogative. They can do that. I mean, people buy the WWE games all the time, and those games are a broken mess. Now, yeah, like people can speak with their wallets if they're not happy, but a lot of people I've spoken to are happy with Cyberpunk. Like when you actually get into it, if you can look past the annoying glitches. The same way we did with The Witcher. For those of you that played it early, we all remember how The Witcher 3 was riddled with glitches, but it's a great game. Underneath all of that mess is a great game. Now, you don't have to play it. I understand it's frustrating. Nobody wants to sit there playing a game riddled with problems. I get that. But if these players, these 13 million people, want to play the game knowing that it's broken, then let them. It's not a problem. Now, this whole transphobia, misogyny, sexism thing with this game, not a thing. It's just not a thing. It's just people moaning again. Now, there were some points in this article that, fair enough, I agree with. CD Projekt Red did sell out some people. I hate to say it because I love the company, but they should have been more forthcoming with how the previous gen consoles were going to react to this game. They had this knowledge, they didn't bring it forward. Fair enough. But this whole comparing it to Hitler, I'm just like, no. Now, I know they explained what they were trying to get across, but it's such a stupid thing to say. It's such a stupid clickbaity thing to say, but that's what you expect from 2020 video game journalism. Anyways, guys, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.